welcome, Loren Bast from Bainbridge Prepares. We're really happy to have you back again. And I am looking forward to just a kind of a update on the world of vaccinations, which on Bainbridge Island has made a big transition in the last few weeks. You were probably doing up to maybe 200, probably more like 180 vaccines a day down here at the Senior Center for a number of clinics. And in recent weeks, you have made a transition to Commodore Options, the little gym at Commodore Options School. And tell us how many people you're able to vaccinate there in a single day.
That answer changes about every weekend because our team always hits a record every weekend, and then we barely get through that weekend, and our hair's been on fire multiple times, and Monday morning we're exhausted. Sunday night we're exhausted, and Monday morning we're barely recovered, and then by Monday afternoon someone chimes in and says, we can do 10% more. Come on, everybody. And so now this weekend, we're going to be probably pushing through about 2,400 people through Commodore, Saturday and Sunday. So 2,400 total, maybe a little bit more than that. But yeah, so we, and at the end of Sunday, that will be around our 20,000th dose that we've administered since the beginning of all this in late December. So
well, I should update your note in the upcoming splash, which currently says it says we were able to administer nearly 20,000 doses, and you're adding thousands of doses each week.
Yes, we will be at 20,000 sometime this weekend, probably Sunday midday.
That is very impressive. And the number of seniors who have been vaccinated on this island is also very impressive. I think I count about 9,000 vaccines that were given through the Senior Center, if I measured it right.
That's probably right. So you know, what I'd say is one thing to remember is you know, we've worked not just with you and the Senior Center Read and with IVC and various other partners, but luckily just down the street from you has been another great partner in all this, which is Member Plus clinic that has also vaccinated a few thousand individuals, seniors and many others on the island. And so them and the operation that you're helping us with, as well as, you know, Safeway and you know, people have gone off island into Seattle, into Bremerton and all that for their vaccines. So so just collectively, yeah, I think we are probably, we will be above 90%, 95% of 60 and older on the island that are vaccinated, and probably 65% of everybody else.
So you said you had an 85%. Was that of people?
Oh, you know what?
Should we just take that back?
Don't quote me on those numbers. They were shared at a so every week or every other week we do a call with all the vaccine providers in the county, do a call with Kitsap Public Health, where they share some vaccination numbers. A lot of them are public on their own dashboards on their own website. But I just know that we have we're hitting above 90% on numerous demographics on the island, and so we anticipate that by mid-May, end of May, we may be close to finishing up all this, at least on the island. So
now you have done a lot with people not from Kitsap County and not from Bainbridge. What's been the policy about that?
After the first weeks, I would say probably in late January, early February, anybody could come to our clinics from, you know, any Washington State resident could come to our clinics. Obviously, the majority were Kitsap residents, but we'd get a whole bunch of people from Seattle, as well as Jefferson and Pierce and all that, counties. Um, and Reed is pretty familiar with our customer care team, which we call the vet team. And they love vaccinating folks from over the water. The only frustration is a lot of people aren't familiar with our ferry system, and so on Saturday afternoons, the calls will start coming in saying, I've never taken the ferry before, and I missed this one, and I have a 2:15 appointment, and oh my God, am I going to get canceled and all that? And so we probably get on any weekend probably about 20 phone calls from very anxious individuals from Seattle and Bellevue and Issaquah, freaked out because they didn't understand how the ferries worked and didn't know how long the trip was. And
yeah, well,
so
we get that on Bainbridge Islanders Facebook. What time do I need to show up for the 7:05 is the perennial joke on Bainbridge Islanders, but they don't know to ask in advance, these folks who are coming over here for Vaccination Island.
Yes.
So the other thing that you have been doing, which I think has been very much appreciated by the county public health, Kitsap Public Health District, is our mobile clinics. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, right when this all started, we got a number of emails and phone calls from adult family homes and, senior congregate living facilities that seem to have been missed by, the Walgreens and the CVS rollout. Either they were not large enough, or maybe just kind of fell through the cracks. And so a lot of those individuals just could not physically make it to our clinics without a just tremendous amount of assistance. So we formed a team to go to them. And I've sort of lost count of how many total that we've done, but it's probably been over 500 individuals that we vaccinated using that team. Gone everywhere to Port Orchard, Silverdale, up through Jefferson County. It could be a senior living facility with 50 people in it, or it could be one homebound, individual that is, has any manner of issues that would prevent them from getting to a clinic. Either they're, paraplegic, or they have severe autism, where they are just terrified of large crowds or people wearing masks. And so, we're able to kind of send a very small team of two, unmasked after they've long been vaccinated, and just have the right approach with each of these individuals, and just take care of them. It's, so that, you get 90% of the people vaccinated, but it's just that 10% that are underserved because they can't make it to the clinic or what have you. We didn't want to forget about them. And so every week we do about 50 to 100 using that mobile team. So,
and those are, I guess, just one example of the kind of ways that medical professionals, nurses, and doctors have stepped up to really help with this effort, right?
Yep.
It's all volunteer. That to me is stunning. I don't know whether you've been able to compare that with anywhere else in the country, or.
We kind of hear little stories here and there about various other initiatives going on in the country. I'd say we are pretty unique. We've been getting phone calls from numerous other counties, all the way literally from, Cape Cod. I never knew what Cape Cod's county was. I think it's Barnstable County, on the East Coast. They had tons of questions about how we've been running our vaccination clinics, both from kind of the technology we use to the teams and how we structure kind of the flow and everything. So we've been on calls with numerous other parts of the country about how we've organized our volunteers and our medical reserve corps, and just how we've operated. So I'd say we are relatively unique. And one of the other nice things is that that frees up kind of that frees up the state to use their resources and apply them to kind of underserved areas of the state. So, for example, the National Guard almost has no presence in our county because our public health department and various other providers and us are doing such a good job vaccinating that they're going to Yakima and they're going to the east side of the state where there isn't as much of this sort of infrastructure in place. So, it's good to know that we can take care of ourselves and let the state worry about other areas that are highly, afflicted.
And one partner is for us for the Bainbridge area has been the pharmacy, Bainbridge Island Community Pharmacy, and I am guessing that they have been a real part of a key part of the success.
There's no way we could have done this without them. And they are, they're one of the most important legs in the stool or in the chair on this. So it's a four-way partnership for the vaccine clinics, four-way primary partnership. But then, of course, we do, partner with you and the Senior Center Read and numerous other partners as the dynamics change and who needs to be vaccinated. But yeah, going back to the pharmacy, they have been wonderful. Mark and his employees have just been great, and we couldn't have asked for a better partner. They've just been wonderful.
Yeah, they took on what turned out to be a very big job.
Yep.
They're managing a lot of vaccine every week.
Yes, they are. Yep.
And I'm wondering how, one of the things you mentioned earlier about being surprised by what might show up in the New York Times, what happened with the J&J pause? What did that do to your operation?
So again, we probably learned right around the same time that the rest of you did that, the FDA and the CDC had recommended a pause on J&J. We had a few clinics planned this week using Johnson & Johnson, mostly up in Jefferson County. We're still supporting Jefferson County. And Jefferson has given Mark's Pharmacy up there more Johnson & Johnson than we've gotten in Kitsap. So we had to cancel about 150 appointments up in Jefferson County that were set to be vaccinated today. And then our mobile clinics have really taken to Johnson & Johnson because when you're taking a team of 3 or 4 individuals and driving them out to Port Orchard to take care of a small adult family home, it's a lot easier if you have to do that once and not twice, and not make sure that everybody's still available 3 weeks from now or 4 weeks from now in order to do that, both for our vaccinators and for the people that we're vaccinating. So Johnson & Johnson kind of filled that mobile clinic hole for us. And then when we found out we could not use it, we had to scramble and we had to fill in with Moderna, which just means scheduling new second doses and all that. And so every week there's a different curveball. And that was the one this week.
Yeah, certainly. And with luck, you'll be back on track. And it sounds like you have a plan with Moderna to kind of move forward. That's great. And you have been depending on a lot of volunteers, just people from the community who are stepping up, members of the Rotary, other organizations. Restaurants have been helping to feed your folks. Anything you want to say about that? All those folks? And
I'll start backwards. Restaurants have been fantastic. They've been led by Bast, the wonderful Vietnamese restaurant on the corner of Winslow. Bast stepped up, I'd say probably in mid to late January, and said, "Hey, we'd love to feed you, but also organize a whole bunch of the other restaurants to feed you as well." And so they brought on Bene Pizza and Isla Bonita and Casa Rojas and Miguelitos and Madison Diner. And boy, if I'm going to go through a bunch of restaurants, and if I forget any, I really apologize. If any other restaurant hears this. And then Pho T&N up in Poulsbo, which is a sister restaurant to Basa. they started providing us food. And so now we have a team managing that, just kind of coordinating all the restaurants and filling in the voids when one restaurant can't provide as much food as we need for our volunteers on a particular weekend. So that in itself, feeding our volunteers is its own logistical challenge, but it's one that we've got a good team in place to handle. So
Yeah, how many volunteers do you have every Saturday or Sunday?
oh,
In rough numbers.
yeah, I would say it's probably 40 to well, it's 40 to 50 each shift, so probably 80 to 100 each day. Some of those individuals stay the entire day, some stay half days. But it's an army, and it's everyone from traffic, folks making sure people get to the right parking spot, to our document check folks, to obviously the vaccinators, and including individuals on staff to kind of do a rapid response if they see somebody having a reaction to something. Every clinic, we usually have one medical incident, almost minor, but it's everything from someone's just afraid of a needle and will go into an anxiety attack. Could be an acupuncture needle, not anything related to the vaccine itself, but they get it in their arm and then they start to have a vasovagal reaction where they just see it and they go, oh, and they start to go. You have to respond to that. You have to respond to people that have hypoglycemic episodes. They just didn't have enough breakfast that morning, and they're starting to fade. I mean, it's just anything that once you get 2,000 people in one place, you're going to have a medical incident, no matter what it is. It could be a soccer game. It could be, opening day at the Mariners, whatever, you're going to have a medical incident. So we have people kind of on staff looking for those, individuals that need help.
So it sounds like it's going to be continuing for a while. You mentioned the idea that possibly you'll be helping with vaccinations through when we start to even be approved for a vaccine for younger kids.
Well, what we are hoping to do is we're in the middle of establishing a metric that where we can say, okay, once we hit this number, either it's for island metric in terms of total population vaccinated, or it's an island metric plus North Kitsap. We sort of adopted, so we service everybody, but essentially because of our proximity, North Kitsap has sort of used us as their primary vaccination clinic in the county. And so we're looking at different metrics and figuring out when can we finally tie a bow on this and take a break from our clinics for a little while. And so that's a lot of that's dependent on, again, when we think the 12 to 16-year-olds are going to be approved to get the Pfizer vaccine. It could be, some things we read could be, late in the summer, or it could be in a week. And so it's going to be dependent on that. But I'd say our rough estimate is by early June is when we will be finally done and letting kind of the other clinics in the county and in the state kind of take care of that small remaining chunk of individuals that for some reason didn't get their vaccine earlier.
Now, the reason that you were able to stand up to do this was because there was an existing organization that you are the executive director of called Bainbridge Prepares, which was designed to prepare for the unforeseen. So after the clinics, that work continues.
I'm taking a year off after the clinics. No, maybe a week. Maybe I'll take a week off.
I'll bet it'll be somewhere in between those two, but
yes.
And well-deserved, I must say. But why don't you talk a little bit about the larger or the longer mission of Bainbridge Prepares?
Yeah, so, one of the things that we've tried to do, again, that predates me, is make, emergency preparedness through community building and through, as Scott James, our founder, says, a lens of love rather than fear. just adopt that as more of a mindset for us to take care of each other. And so, and that could be from everything from a big earthquake to, a neighbor that you find out is just sick, and you need to be able to take, to make sure to have enough of a relationship with your neighbors to recognize that and then be able to help each other out. So small emergencies, large emergencies, develop a framework to, to build those communities. And, I'd say that we keep, I mentioned earlier, we keep getting approached by numerous groups to kind of figure out how we built what we built in terms of the partnerships that we've done and kind of the core organization. And so I imagine that those conversations will continue. We helped Jefferson County set up their own medical reserve corps. A lot of organizations within the country have been poking us and saying, "Hey, tell us how you built this." And so I have a feeling that we, in addition to kind of keeping things going in the county and on the island, we're going to be helping out others throughout the country as well. And I'm looking forward to that. I think it's a great message that we have that we'd like to get into other places.
And if people are interested in getting involved at this point, it sounds like you've got more work than time to vet volunteers, but are you getting enough volunteers to get the work done?
We are. We've actually had to pause at certain points. We were getting probably 10 individuals a day asking if they could volunteer for our clinics, and part of that is, and it's a testament to our existing volunteers. So many of our existing volunteers will come away from our clinics and just say, "Oh my God, I felt so good helping so many people today." And everybody was happy. And the one person that wasn't happy, we finally made them less grumpy, because of for whatever reason, they weren't quite happy. And then they tell their neighbors. So like, I just volunteered at the vaccine clinic in Commodore at the senior center or somewhere else. And it was so great. And then we get an email from that neighbor to say, "Hey, I want to volunteer. I want that good feeling." And we were getting about, again, 10 phone calls or emails a day from individuals to volunteer. And and that was a good problem to have, but it was still a problem where we were growing so much that, not every volunteer is the right fit for every role. So you have to kind of figure out who you need in the right place and build that structure so that you can absorb that many volunteers. But on occasion, we did have to take a pause and say, "Sorry, right now, we're still getting through the backlog of the 150 other volunteers that have asked to help us out." And so once we get through the clinics, then it's going to kind of be an assessment of, all right, what sort of volunteer horsepower do we need, and do kind of look through those emails and say, "Ooh, this person has experience in crowd management or in building this sort of team," and then reach back out to them and say, "We'd love to have you, and here's how you can get involved."
Loren, thank you very much for coming today. I really appreciate it, and thank you for all the good work you're doing. It turned out to be a very busy COVID season for you.
Yes, well, right back at you, because again,
Okay.
we couldn't have done it without you and your volunteers as well.
Okay.